The ancient texts present us with a narrative of profound human experience, a pivotal moment in the foundational story of Abraham and Sarah. This account, rich in detail and consequence, transcends its historical setting to offer timeless insights. It serves as a crucible for examining the intricate interplay of divine promise and human endeavor. At its heart, this narrative illuminates enduring themes of faith, the corrosive nature of impatience, and the far-reaching consequences that stem from human actions. It compels us to consider the delicate balance between trust in a higher power and the impulse to control one's own destiny. The story unfolds with a seemingly simple, yet deeply significant personal struggle. The narrative commences with a stark and poignant reality: Sarah's barrenness. In an era where lineage was paramount, this condition was not merely a personal sorrow, but a profound societal challenge. It cast a long shadow over the divine promise of a multitude of descendants. Sarah's inability to conceive a child was a source of immense personal distress and societal pressure. In the ancient Near East, a woman's worth and status were often inextricably linked to her capacity for motherhood. This biological reality carried significant social weight. Children were universally regarded as a profound blessing, a tangible sign of divine favor and prosperity. To be without offspring was often perceived as a curse, a mark of disfavor that brought shame upon the individual and their household. This cultural context amplifies Sarah's anguish. Beyond personal fulfillment, children were considered the essential guarantee of lineage and the continuity of a family's name and heritage. They ensured the perpetuation of traditions, the inheritance of property, and the very survival of the clan. For Abraham, the promise of a great nation hinged upon this very issue. Faced with her persistent barrenness and the apparent delay in the fulfillment of the divine promise, Sarah sought an alternative solution. Her desperation led her to propose a course of action that, while seemingly pragmatic, would ultimately introduce profound complexities. She felt compelled to take matters into her own hands. Sarah's proposal was rooted in a culturally accepted practice of the time, a legal and social custom designed to address the very predicament she faced. In such societies, a barren wife could offer her maidservant to her husband to bear children on her behalf. These children would then be legally considered the wife's own. Thus, Sarah offered her Egyptian maidservant, Hagar, to Abraham. This act was not born of malice, but of a deep-seated desire to see the divine promise realized, albeit through human means. It was an attempt to circumvent what appeared to be an insurmountable obstacle. The explicit intention behind this arrangement was for Hagar to bear Abraham a child, thereby providing an heir for the household. This child would, in theory, fulfill the covenantal promise of descendants, bringing an end to Sarah's barrenness by proxy. It was a desperate measure born of hope and cultural precedent. Abraham, in a moment of compliance that would have lasting repercussions, heeded Sarah's request. He took Hagar as a secondary wife, entering into an arrangement that would irrevocably alter the dynamics of his family. His decision, perhaps driven by a desire to comfort Sarah or to fulfill the divine promise, set a new course. The arrangement quickly bore fruit, as Hagar conceived a child by Abraham. This pregnancy, intended to bring joy and resolution, instead became the catalyst for unforeseen conflict and deep-seated resentment within the household. The human solution began to unravel. Hagar's pregnancy led to a significant and unfortunate change in her attitude towards her mistress, Sarah. Elevated by her newfound status as the bearer of Abraham's child, she began to view Sarah with disdain. This shift in demeanor was a direct challenge to the established hierarchy. She began to look down on Sarah, her mistress, perceiving herself as superior due to her fertility. This act of disrespect, born of pride and a change in circumstance, ignited a bitter rivalry. The intended solution had created a new, more volatile problem. This burgeoning conflict created significant tension and resentment between the two women. The household, once united in its desire for an heir, became a battleground of competing emotions and perceived injustices. The emotional landscape of the family was irrevocably altered. Sarah, feeling deeply slighted and humiliated by Hagar's contempt, accused Abraham of wrongdoing. She felt betrayed by both Hagar's arrogance and Abraham's perceived inaction. Her distress was palpable, demanding a resolution to the escalating domestic strife. Sarah demanded justice from Abraham regarding Hagar, insisting that he intervene and restore order. She felt her authority as the primary wife had been undermined, and she sought his affirmation and protection. The situation had become untenable for her. Abraham, perhaps seeking to avoid further conflict or acknowledging Sarah's rightful authority within the household, deferred to her. He placed the responsibility for resolving the dispute squarely back into Sarah's hands. This decision, while seemingly an act of deference, had severe consequences. Abraham allowed Sarah to deal with Hagar as she saw fit, granting her full authority over her maidservant. This delegation of power, intended to empower Sarah, inadvertently opened the door to harsh treatment. It removed any buffer between Sarah's anger and Hagar's vulnerability. Sarah's treatment of Hagar subsequently became harsh and oppressive. Driven by jealousy, resentment, and a desire to reassert her dominance, Sarah inflicted suffering upon Hagar. The maidservant became the target of Sarah's pent-up frustrations and humiliation. The abuse became so severe that Hagar was driven to flee into the desolate wilderness. Her flight was an act of desperation, a desperate escape from an unbearable situation. She chose the perils of the unknown over the torment within Abraham's household. Hagar's flight into the wilderness, a journey born of despair, marked a profound and unexpected divine turn in the narrative. It was in this desolate place, far from human comfort, that she encountered a presence beyond the earthly realm. Her solitude became a sacred space. The angel of the Lord appeared to Hagar, a messenger from the divine, interrupting her desperate journey. This intervention underscored the notion that even in moments of human failure and suffering, divine providence remains active and attentive. Hagar was not forgotten. The encounter took place by a spring in the wilderness, a vital source of life in an otherwise barren landscape. This location, known as Shur, became a sacred site, a testament to divine care in the midst of desolation. It was a place of both physical and spiritual sustenance. The angel offered Hagar comfort and reassurance, acknowledging her plight and validating her suffering. This divine encounter provided solace and direction to a woman who had been cast out and abandoned. It was a moment of profound recognition and grace. The angel's message to Hagar was multifaceted, beginning with a direct instruction. She was to return to Sarah and submit to her authority. This command, though difficult, was presented as a necessary step for her and her unborn child's future. It required humility and obedience. Furthermore, the angel promised Hagar a vast and numerous lineage, echoing the very promise made to Abraham. This divine assurance elevated Hagar's status and affirmed her place within the unfolding divine plan. Her descendants would be too numerous to count. The angel then revealed that Hagar would bear a son, and he was to be named Ishmael, meaning God hears. This name served as a perpetual reminder of God's attentiveness to her cries and suffering. It was a name imbued with divine significance. Ishmael's future was foretold with striking imagery, characterized as a wild ass of a man. This prophecy described a life of independence, resilience, and perpetual conflict. His hand would be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, living in defiance of his kin. Hagar, deeply touched and transformed by the divine encounter, responded with profound reverence. She named the Lord God of Vision, acknowledging his omnipresence and his compassionate sight even in her darkest hour. She recognized the God who saw her. She also named the well where she met the angel Bir Lahai Roi, which translates to the well of the living one who sees me. This name served as a lasting memorial to her personal encounter with the divine. It marked a place of revelation and solace. Obeying the divine instruction, Hagar returned to Sarah's household. Her return, though difficult, demonstrated her faith in the angel's words and her commitment to the future of her child. She re-entered a challenging environment with new resolve. In due course, Hagar subsequently gave birth to Ishmael, fulfilling the angel's prophecy. This birth marked the beginning of a new branch of Abraham's family, a lineage that would play a significant role in subsequent history. Ishmael's arrival was a testament to divine faithfulness. Abraham became a father through Hagar at the age of 86. This event, while bringing a child into his life, also introduced a complex dynamic into his family structure. It was a fulfillment of a promise, yet one born of human impatience. This event, the birth of Ishmael through Hagar, marked a significant and complex step in the unfolding story of God's covenant with Abraham. It demonstrated God's faithfulness to his promises, even when human actions introduced complications. The covenant continued to advance. However, it also undeniably set the stage for future tensions and complexities within the family of Abraham. The rivalry between Sarah and Hagar, and subsequently between Isaac and Ishmael, would echo through generations. This human intervention had lasting repercussions. The passage powerfully underscores the human tendency to take matters into their own hands. When faced with uncertainty or perceived delays in divine promises, humanity often resorts to its own solutions. This impulse is a recurring theme in sacred texts. This tendency arises particularly when faced with divine promises that seem delayed or difficult to comprehend. The gap between promise and fulfillment often tests human patience and faith, leading to actions that diverge from the intended path. It highlights the struggle with trust. The narrative ultimately highlights the subsequent consequences that arise from such human actions. While God's ultimate plan remains sovereign, human choices, even those made with good intentions, can introduce pain, conflict, and unforeseen challenges. This story serves as a profound ethical and historical lesson,